Hey guys, Clarinet Cat here, out for a cruise on a really gorgeous late October fall day. Going to talk today a little bit about some of the mods on my 2006 Harley-Davidson Sportster XL1200C. So today we're out on the Sportster. I thought I would talk a little bit about some of the mods that I've done to this bike over the years. When I purchased the bike brand new, July 2006, I had never ridden a Harley-Davidson. I had owned a couple other Suzuki street bikes back in the early 90s and through early 2000s. And when I bought this, never ridden a Harley before, just knew that I wanted to get one. Walked into the showroom, didn't even test drive it. Knew that I wanted a sporty, and picked it out, filled out the paperwork, and brought it home the very next day. First thing I noticed on the stock Sportster, which I'll put a picture up on the screen here, is the suspension and also the pipes themselves. That's one of the first things that I ended up discovering, is that the stock Harleys are not loud. And, you know, growing up as a kid and into my 20s, always hearing Harleys going by with these really loud pipes, I was like, well, geez, so what am I going to do about this? So I ended up hopping onto the internet and doing some searches about loud pipes. And one of the first things that popped up, unbeknownst to me, was the dreaded Harley tax of changing out your pipes and your air filter and air cleaner. So had no idea what I was doing, didn't know any information about this. So I ended up joining a week after I bought the motorcycle, an online community called the XL Forum. The website is still up. I'm not sure how active the page currently is, to be honest with you. I hadn't actually visited in like 10 years, but I logged on about about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And the information that I had posted about the modifications I did to this motorcycle, it's still up there. So I'm going to put a link to the changes that I had done on this bike in the description. That way you can refer to it as you so choose. But again, the first thing I ended up doing was the air filter, and my pipes are Samson, I believe they're called Big Guns, or the BG3s. And I, unfortunately, I'm not mechanical. I don't know how to do work on a motorcycle myself. So I ended up bringing it to a local mechanic to have my Harley taxes done. And once that was completed, I have some pictures of the bike that, again, I'll put up on the video here. And so at least I had, that was kind of step one of my modifications, was getting the Harley taxes done. The next thing I decided to do to this bike was more for safety reasons than anything. I would like to think I'm not a typical Harley rider. I kind of like to carve corners, as we're doing here as we go up this awesome hill here with these set of twisties. So I'm not your typical Harley rider. I've always worn full face helmet. I wear full gear, gloves, boots, all that kind of stuff. And in a different episode, I'll talk about the gear that I have used over the years. But for now, let's talk about, this is a Sportster. The way it came stock was designed, obviously, more for cruising. And it had the really skinny spoke tire in the front. I think it was a 19-inch spoke wheel. Not a lot of rubber to go around corners on. Really not very confidence-inducing on the twisties. And I was also scraping the crap out of my pipes. I had these brand new pipes put on, the BG3s, and every single time I would take a right-hand turn, I would scrape the bottom of my my pipes. So I knew I had to do something about that. Started to do quite a bit of research as to how I could go about improving those things. And really the two recommendations that I got from the XL Forum were, first of all, raise the bike, which almost seems non-intuitive compared to what most Harley riders would do, is to kind of slam it down to the ground. but I think I went from, oh man, I think the originals were 11 and I went to 13, or maybe it was 9 to 11. I honestly can't recall. So I'll put the numbers up on the screen here as far as what the actual shocks are that I put on here. But they're taller, a couple inches taller. Really helped with the ground clearance as far as the pipes. And then to handle the shakiness and how unstable the bike was at speed in corners and things like that, I ended up going with dyno wheels. That was again recommended to me as a mod on the XL forum to take off the stock wheels on the Sportster, replace them with wheels from a Dyna, and put on fatter rubber. So I'll have a picture of what the tires look like. They're so much more stable, especially doing roads like, there's my twisties right there. That was really one of the biggest safety riding mods that I could have done for this bike, and completely changed the handling of this Harley-Davidson. Another safety mod that I put out onto the bike is right here on the side. It's this Stiebel air horn, which it was, again, so much louder. The stock horn sounded worse than like a Toyota Corolla or something. It was really quiet. And this one, I'll lean on it here. I think it's pretty loud. And that's, again, going over the engine and everything right now, cruising at about 30 miles an hour. So for safety reasons, that was really a nice addition to end up putting on the bike. Some of the cosmetic things that I ended up doing were, again, mostly for looks, not really safety things. I ended up doing some powder coating of various parts. I'll do a walkthrough or a walk around on the bike when I get stopped in a little bit here. But I powder coated, as you can see, the headlight bucket up there is powder coated black. I ended up changing out the buckhorn handlebars, which again, for feedback from the road, I hated them. They were just really not, they were the ones that kind of hung up. Again, the stock handlebars. Went with this broomstick handlebar here, which is more like a flat track racer kind of look and feel. With the wider tires, really gave me better feedback, especially on corners like this. So powder coated that, ended up changing out black levers, put on the chrome hand grips. Originally had some shorter, smaller oval black mirrors on here, but they honestly were terrible as far as visibility. So I ended up slapping the stock Sportster mirrors back on up here. Powder coated the wheels black, the Dyna wheels. Powder coated the license plate frame, just to kind of, mix up the look of the bike. Changed out the foot pegs a little bit, both driver and passenger. And I also relocated the turn signals down here. You can see them. Really changed the overall appearance of the bike. I've had a lot of people comment and say that it has a almost old school 40s or 50s military look to it, which I like. In the the XL forum thread, I ended up naming it the Fatster. It's kind of like a cross between a Sportster and a Fat Bob, I guess, but again, has that real kind of military look to it. It's beefy, which I really like it a lot better than the the traditional Sportster peanut tank and all that kind of stuff. And that's really about it as far as mods that I can think of off the top of my head right now. If there's any additional ones, I'll put them in the description. Again, I'll have the link for the XL forum thread that covers all of these mods in real specific detail. So if you had you have an older Sportster and you'd like to maybe do some of these mods to your older bike, or maybe even a newer bike. I'm not sure if the newer Sporties are compatible with some of the parts that I ended up buying years ago. It's 17 years ago now that I've had this bike. But hopefully it can be of some use to you. If the video was helpful and you liked what I've had presented here, go ahead and give me a subscribe and a like. I'll have a lot more content coming up in future videos, including a possible new, I don't want to say replacement because I'm going to keep this, but also a possibility of a new bike coming into my garage in the next couple months. We'll see. One last modification here. I did paint my own gas can cap, and of course now it's flaking off, and it gives it a little bit of character, I guess would be the way to say it now. So hang in there, guys. Enjoy this last warm weather if you're in the Northeast. I'm in Pennsylvania, just outside of Allentown, and doesn't get much better than this for a late fall day. Peace.
Thank you.